With energy bills rising, incomes crashing, and food poverty soaring, this week has seen one event which, more than anything, puts on show everything wrong with Britain.
Her Majesty's government's priority is to grow and strengthen the economy and help ease the cost of living for families. Her Majesty's government will level up opportunity in all parts of the country and support more people into work.
That was the future monarch sitting in a literal gold throne, telling us how much his mum's government cares about the cost of living crisis. Prince Charles was standing in for the Queen, which meant we were treated to these images of the imperial state crown being delivered by a Rolls Royce. Remember, this takes place while there are pensioners spending their days riding buses to avoid having to heat their homes. And if that hasn't fully grossed you out, check out the front page of The Sun. They covered the speech with the headline, "I hope I did you proud, Mummy." Remember, this man is 73 years old, and all he did was read someone else's speech, and not in a particularly exciting way either. Moving on from symbolism and Freudian bath fests, the Queen's speech serves as an opportunity for the government of the day to set out the bills they plan to pass during the coming parliamentary session. And this time around, 38 bills were mooted. That included an animal welfare bill to tackle puppy smuggling, a Bill of Rights making it easier to deport people, a ban on protesters taking direct action by locking on to targets, and nothing concrete whatsoever to tackle the cost of living crisis.
In Britain, we have a tale of two pensioners that defines our society. There's no difference between them other than an accident of birth. But one of them, as you said, rides buses all day to keep herself warm, and the other sits on a throne of stolen wealth. It's obviously deeply sinister to see a man who did nothing but be born, who lives off riches extracted and stolen from working class people all around the world, talk about leveling up and getting people into work, when real leveling up would obviously involve abolishing everything that he stands for, namely extraction, colonialism, unearned wealth, unearned privilege, etc. Aside from the distasteful image of, a man on a gold throne casually talking about one of the most egregious attacks on our democratic rights in at least a generation, I think there's also something that we should really pay attention to here, and something that we should be anticipating as the left, as progressive people. Obviously, Charles doing the Queen's speech this year is the beginning of a shift in power in the royal family. Clearly, the era of Elizabeth is coming to an end, probably, and we are seeing the beginning of Charles taking power. And I think we will be quite surprised, actually, by how much of a hit the popularity of the monarchy is likely to take when the Queen passes. At the moment, it feels pretty bulletproof. It feels pretty impenetrable. But I think after the initial, what I imagine will be sort of months and months of pageantry, and the reality of Charles begins to sink in, I think we're going to see a really dramatic drop in how invested people are in really going to bat for the monarchy. Charles is deeply unpopular. Camilla, even more so. Kate and William are two of the most charmless people I think I've ever seen on TV. And the monarchy are acutely aware of this. I think a big reason we saw them really going after Meghan Markle was very much a way of consolidating support for a future queen, for Kate, given the anticipation that she won't be as popular, or that the monarchy will have a popularity hit. Through racism, of course, they caricatured Meghan as a bad mother, a bad wife, a bad daughter, a bad sister, a bad princess, or whatever she was, and put her into conflict with Kate in order to essentially uplift Kate. So the worse a mother, the worse a royal Meghan is, the better a royal, and the better a mother, and the better a woman Kate is. And so given that likely crisis of popularity that is incoming, that I think the monarchy has shown they are very aware of, we should really think about how we want to be positioned in that. We shouldn't let that moment take us by surprise, but actually think really proactively about how that moment can be used to teach larger lessons and to expose larger contradictions. Kojo Koram's book, Uncommon Wealth, does a really good job of this, where he brings in all of these conversations about colonial legacies and the monarchy and the empire, and brings it into a conversation about how the British state functions today. So the fact that the royal family is not a family, but is actually a corporation that is a wing of the British state. And as that corporation, it is the largest landowner in the world. Many of its territories are used to hoard the wealth of financial elites through offshoring, through shell companies or what have you. And the monarchy and the kind of cultural power that the monarchy has and the internal workings of that corporation to sustain itself has an active role in sustaining that very modern contemporary system. Not to mention, of course, the colonial violence that made and continues to make the British monarchy. But I think also bringing what are often cast as historical debates and historical legacy questions into actually very concrete questions of contemporary power. And so this drop in popularity of the monarchy that I think we can anticipate could become a really key flashpoint, one that hasn't been possible for the past 50, 60 years in people's understanding of the state, of its relationship to capitalism, of its relationship to colonialism, and can provide a real opening for us to really encourage people to think about the kind of government that we want, the kind of system that we want to be governed by. And if we use it right, this moment can be much more than just a matter of personal dislike for Charles and Camilla and the rest of them, but actually a historic opportunity, I think, to have a real reckoning with the ways, the intangible and tangible ways in which power in this country actually operates. So I think we are starting to see the beginning of that process, but that incredibly charmless and distasteful and disgusting display of wealth by Charles that wasn't softened by the kind of personal popularity that I think Queen Elizabeth has managed to command.